My Spotify Wrapped for 2023 was embarrassing. I made a whole video about this, which you can watch here if you really care. And one thing that I said at the end of that video, and I have said on my Instagram stories, is that I really want to listen to more music. I think something that's a little bit embarrassing about me is that I stick to the same things and I don't really venture too far out of my comfort zone. Like, my main kind of style of music that I like, other than, I guess, pop, is folk. I love anything that's really like ethereal and has some just beautiful instrumentals. My favorite artists forever and ever will always be Taylor Swift, Aurora, and Hosier. I think that their music is magical and I will just love it forever. Right? In an endeavor to broaden my horizons, I wanted to endeavor to try and listen to something new each week. I wanted to listen to one new album in full by an artist that I haven't spent a lot of time with. I set up a whole list of discographies that I was very familiar with so that everyone knew the artists that I probably didn't need help with. And then I got my Instagram community to recommend me some albums to listen to. And so for the whole month of January so far, I've listened to one new album a week, and I wanted to talk about how it's going so far. I'm planning on doing one of these videos once a month to kind of update everyone on what I've been listening to, what my thoughts are, how I'm going with it, and by the end of the year, I want to talk about any of my opinions have changed since the first listen, kind of have a documented music exploration, and then we can also attach my Spotify Wrapped to the final video that we do for this. So I thought that might be fun. Yeah, I want to show you what I've been listening to, so let's just get started. So week one of the album project, as I call it on Instagram, was This Is Why by Paramore. Now, the only reason that I didn't have Paramore on my discographies that I'm very familiar with is because I hadn't listened to this album, and I knew that my best friend Leah had been wanting me to listen to this album for so long. Since it came out, Leah was like, Pastel, I think you would really like this. I think you should give it a go, and I think that you should go see Paramore when they're live. And I was like, okay. And then I didn't. So it was kind of one of those things where some of the artists I just needed a push in the right direction, and this is definitely a good example of it. And I thought it was a good place to start because I already really like Paramore. And so with This Is Why, it was exactly what I was hoping for in an album. I really enjoyed listening to all of it. I can't really say that any song in particular really stood out to me where I'm like, I was really obsessed with it or anything like that upon my first listen anyway. I thought the production on the album was fantastic as always, and notably I didn't actually like the title song very much. It wasn't that it was bad in any way, I don't want to say that. I liked the album a lot overall, but I didn't care for This Is Why. I liked The News a lot better, and Big Man Little Dignity, that's a fantastic song. Overall, I really liked it. 4 out of 5 was my score for it overall. I'm a big fan of the album. It was exactly what I was expecting. Now, for the songs that I had saved, I had The News, Big Man Little Dignity, You First, and Liar. I really liked all of them. I think Big Man Little Dignity had some really fun lyrics that I really, really liked when I listened to it the first time. I was very excited about it. The News is also just a banger, and it also made it in Triple J's Hottest 200, which I was very excited about. I'd actually completely forgotten about Paramore by the time Hottest 200 came out, which is a shame. So anyway, I also want to say I don't actually remember everyone who gave the suggestion for the album. I don't have access to the list of like who gave the albums. I just have all the albums written. So if you recommended me an album and I didn't say that you recommended it, just remind me because yeah. All right, for week 2, I listened to Nectar by Joji. I'd always wanted to listen to Joji. Joji's kind of been one of those artists where like he's kind of flown under the radar for me. I've always heard his big songs, but I've never spent like a lot of time with the album and gotten to know him. I obviously knew about him prior to his music career, and I think his pivot from online creation to music has been incredible. I was very excited to listen to Nectar. Nectar, I know, was recommended by my friend Tiff. So thank you so much to Tiff for recommending it to me. But yeah, so I had a pretty good head start with this album because I already was familiar with, I guess, the hits. So I was well on my way to really enjoying the album upon first listen. My favorite song by far was TikTok, and it's almost entirely because of the sample that was used from Nelly's Dilemma. There's a special place in my heart for Dilemma. I sing it all the time. Like all the time. You wouldn't believe. No matter what I do, oh, all I think about is you. Even when I'm with my boo, oh, you know I'm crazy over you. You know what I mean? It's just a good song. So the fact that it was in a fucking Joji song was incredible. So yes, TikTok was definitely my favorite song on the album. There were just so many highs. It was just such a fun album to listen to. I really enjoyed pretty much the majority of the album. I don't think there was any real lulls in the album that I remember. But yes, banger album. I would give this album a 5 out of 5. This is definitely within my kind of sound that I like very much and I'm very familiar with. 5 out of 5. I loved this album. I'm very excited to keep listening to it. So my saved songs for this album were TikTok, obviously, Daylight, Gimme Love. I already had Daylight and Gimme Love saved, I'm pretty sure. Run, Sanctuary, 777, or is it 777? How do you say it? Is it 777? And Your Man, which I really liked Your Man as well. Bit of a sleeper hit for me. When I got to that part of the album, I was like, okay. I'm also very excited to listen to his next albums as well. Week 3, I was recommended Emails I Can't Send, the deluxe version by Sabrina Carpenter. Now, I really wanted to listen to this album because Sabrina Carpenter is the opener to the Eras tour in Australia, and it was about time that I got more acquainted with her music. It's another situation with Joji where I know a lot of her hits, but I don't necessarily know all of what's going on there. And I know she's probably only going to play like the biggest hits at the Eras tour, but I would like to be as prepared as I can be going into it. So thank you so much to Candace for suggesting this one to me. So Sabrina Carpenter is one of those artists that Spotify really likes to promote to me. In all of my like made for you playlists on Spotify, Sabrina Carpenter is a mainstay in every album. Just like Noah Khan, I can't escape both of those artists. And also the 1975, which you may see on the preliminary checklist before anyone submitted anything. A band artist was the 1975. I have beef with them. I don't want to go into it here. That's a long story. Sabrina Carpenter is always on my made for you playlist, and I'm not sad about it. I want to preface that I'm not sad about it, but because of that, I am familiar with a lot of her songs, and a lot of the songs on this album I had already liked, but I hadn't listened to the whole album in full, so this was a good practice for me to see the flow of how she wanted this album to be listened and laid out, and that's so fun to me. I love knowing the kind of intricacies of how songs flow into one another and those kinds of things. I loved this album so much. There were so many hits. I definitely think that this made me even more excited to see her live. I don't know if I was in a bad mood when I was listening to this, or maybe I just, you know, sometimes, maybe people don't know sometimes. You know, sometimes when you are like in a bit of a mood and you only want to listen to one thing, but you're like forcing yourself to listen to something else. I was kind of in one of those moods, but I didn't have that thing that I wanted to listen to. I just knew I didn't necessarily want to listen to this. Not for any reason. You're just gonna get that little itchy feeling like, no, I don't want to do that right now. But I knew that I wanted to get this out of the way because I knew I would like it. So it's one of those things where I was trying to force myself to be good. I will say I saved every single song on this album. So I'm not going to name all of the songs on the album. Just know I saved them all. Even though I really liked the album, yeah, I was going into it going like, I'm not really in the mood to be listening to this. Maybe I was sad. Sabrina Carpenter music is very happy. Overall, I thought that the album was really fun and cool and I liked it, but it was like lacking a little bit of something. And this is no shade to Sabrina Carpenter. This is more shade to my brain. I was thinking that potentially it was just lacking a little bit of flavor. Like, let's say a comparable artist is Taylor Swift, and it sucks because Taylor Swift is obviously prolific, so it's hard to compare them. But let's just say, because they're in the same kind of vein of music, Taylor has all of these things working at the same time to make like the most brilliant piece of art ever. And it was like Sabrina Carpenter's album maybe didn't have that little sparkle on top that Taylor has, for me anyway. And so that was kind of my overall thoughts when I was listening to it, but obviously not detracting from how much I liked the album. I loved it. It's a 5 out of 5 for me. The reason why I wanted to bring that up is I'm interested to see by the end of the year if that opinion changes and if I become like a full-blown fan of Sabrina Carpenter, which I'm sure I am, like the rest of the world. But like, especially after we see her perform at the Eras tour, I think that I'm probably going to have like a big love affair with Sabrina Carpenter. So I wanted to make sure I said that, so I've got evidence. So week 4, I listened to Take Me Back to Eden by Sleep Token. And you might be going, huh? Yeah. So I'm a really big fan of Brittany Broski. I think that's probably evident in the way that I carry myself, because I absorb whatever online personalities that I pay a lot of attention to. I feel like I absorb a lot of their characteristics. The H3 podcast is a big one for me. Jenna Marbles was a big one for me, especially at the start of my streaming. And Brittany Broski is also kind of a big contender in my content creator space. So when she recommended Sleep Token and talked about how much she loved Sleep Token, I really wanted to give them a listen, but I also knew that I most likely wasn't going to like them because they are they do a lot of different styles, but they are typically a metal band, and I really don't like metal. So I was going into this with not a great starting point, but I knew that they did a lot of different styles. I also knew that their music was very high quality, so I really wanted to listen to them, and they were on my list of artists that I was interested in listening to. So I'm really glad that I got this recommended to me. I just, for the life of me, can't remember who recommended this, but thank you very much for recommending it. This was the first album by far that was completely out of my comfort zone, and there are a few other recommendations on my list that are very out of my comfort zone, and I'm excited to listen to them, but I am scared. Overall, my thoughts on Take Me Back to Eden were, it's not for me, but it's really good. It's really good. Like, I was trying to explain it to my partner. We were listening to one of their songs, made it into the Hottest 100, The Summoning. And I was trying to explain to him that the production is really good on this album. Like, really good. Everything is beautiful. And I love the singer's vocal quality. It's amazing. Each of the musicians are just so talented. I have a real appreciation for the album and all of the sound as a whole. It's just not something that I necessarily would reach for. And because of that, I have kind of given it a bit of a lower rating, just because it's not personally my preference. But I do really want to emphasize that this album is very well made. And for those who like this kind of style, who haven't for some reason listened to Sleep Token, you're going to be very happy listening to it. I actually gave this album a 3 out of 5, and it's purely because it's not for me. I did save a few songs though. I saved Granite, Ascensionism, the one that's an acronym. This truly is a nightmare for those with dyslexia, because I can't remember what it even stands for, so I can't help myself in what it is. DYWTYLM. Okay. I got it. And Rain. I saved those ones, which I would say are less metal and more different styles. In my Notion template of everything for each of these albums that I listen to, I make a note of when I listen to it, obviously, what my rating was for it, but I also write down what the genres are of the album, because I want to see by the end of the year how diverse my spread was of genres. Notably for Sleep Token, for this album specifically, I've got here prog metal, pop, and R&B, which is like the craziest mix of sound. So if you're not familiar with Sleep Token, that might just sound so crazy, but once you listen to the album, it all makes sense. The Summoning, I want to bring up that song because I notably didn't have that saved. I do like the song, I just can't imagine myself really listening to it. Not because it's long and not because it plays with different genres. I just didn't identify with it. I wasn't jiving with it. But I want to bring it up because I wrote a note for this album that says, I'm gonna say something controversial yet brave. The songs that aren't blatant metal sounding songs or are not in a metal sound for the part of the song that it is, sounded to me a lot like Imagine Dragons. And that's not meant to be a slight against Sleep Token, but as someone who's also not very familiar with Imagine Dragons, they sounded kind of similar, and I was like, do you know what I mean? Yeah, so that's been my first month of listening to new albums. I am very excited to listen to some more. I have probably 30 or 40 albums recommended by people at this stage. So I am still looking for albums to be recommended to me. So if you have a album that you would like for me to listen to, please let me know in the comments. I would love to listen to it. On my Instagram, if you would like to see the albums or discographies that I am familiar with, you can check it out on my Instagram. There is a highlight that's for the album project. So if you just click on that, I think it's the first or second image on there, so you can see what I'm already familiar with, so no need to suggest from there. But if you have an album or a artist that you think that I should be listening to, please feel free to recommend them to me. I want to have a not only far more diverse Spotify, I want to have more minutes listened. I listen to so many podcasts, so I just don't have very high minutes. But this year it's my challenge for myself to actually get higher numbers and try and listen to more and just enjoy music, because I love music. So yeah. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you have any thoughts or feelings about the opinions that I had on any of these albums on first listen, that caveat, it is but just my first listen's thoughts, then please share them in the comments. Thank you so much to my channel members for supporting me financially. You are the best. And if you would like to join my channel members, you can hit the little join button down below, and then you will appear in my list of thanks. Yahoo! In every one of my videos. Plus, you get to join a secret Discord channel that is just for you guys, and you get a kiss from me and my eternal love. That's a pretty good deal. Look after yourself, stay healthy, stay hydrated, and I will see you all next time.